At this moment, Wang Lin was still immersed in the divine abilities of rain calling and scatter beans to form soldiers that filled his mind. He was completely absorbed, constantly digesting and comprehending them. Qing Shui remained silent for a long time. Gazing at Wang Lin, a look of farewell surfaced in his eyes as he spoke slowly. You've lost too much life force. In this, I cannot help you. All the divine abilities I've cultivated are for battle, none are for healing. The only exception is devouring, which was passed to me by Master in the Thunder Immortal realm. You saw it with your own eyes. Now, I'll pass it on to you. As Qing Shui spoke, his right hand once again touched the center of Wang Lin's forehead. Instantly, the divine ability of devouring surged into Wang Lin's mind with overwhelming force. This technique comes with great drawbacks. Back when Master taught it to me, he was hesitant. Now that you're learning it, remember, never use it unless absolutely necessary. With a deep sigh, Qing Shui looked at Wang Lin's aged face, withdrew his right hand, then bit into his own flesh to draw a strange rune with blood. The rune reeked of blood, and, the moment it appeared, the surrounding starry sky trembled as if all dust in the cosmos were rapidly retreating. You've lost too much life force. This rune can offer some protection. With a wave of his hand, Qing Shui pressed the blood-colored rune onto Wang Lin's chest. It flashed briefly, then vanished. Wang Lin's body trembled violently. In an instant, his aged appearance began to reverse. Moments later, apart from his snow-white hair, his features returned to their prime. No trace of life force loss could be seen, completely concealed and protected. This rune cannot restore you, and it absolutely cannot be used on a nascent soul body. If it could, I would never have allowed this. Qing Shui turned away and walked into the starry sky, his figure gradually fading from sight. Junior brother, from now on, take care of yourself. The method of restoring the extreme realm is tied to the heavenly tribulation, but if your cultivation hasn't reached shattered nirvana, don't pursue the extreme realm. I mean it. Qing Shui was gone. Wang Lin's body shook as he regained full awareness. The scenes just now echoed in his mind. He stared in silence for a long, long time in the direction Qing Shui had departed. Thank you, Wang Lin murmured. A complicated, indescribable emotion welled up in his heart as he turned and left. He did not head to the Thunder Immortal Palace to enter the Alliance Star Domain through the rift. Instead, he merged into the world itself, seeking out the nearest abandoned cultivation star. After confirming its safety through careful inspection, he sat cross-legged inside a newly opened cave mansion. Spreading his divine sense, Pagoda Mountain stepped out behind him and took a seat at the cave entrance to stand guard. Wang Lin tapped his storage pouch, and the restriction orb sealing Li Muwan flew into his palm. Staring at the orb, sorrow flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. He gently stroked it with his left hand, and the orb began to open layer by layer, revealing Li Muwan's nascent soul, which now possessed a faint trace of life. Wainer, even if I had to sacrifice nearly all my life force just for this single thread of hope for you, I would still do it. His voice was calm, but carried a sorrow that cut deep. Li Muwan's nascent soul trembled. She had no strength to awaken, but at that moment, 2 tears fell from her body. Nascent souls do not cry. The tears vanished instantly without falling, dissolving into a sorrowful aura that spread through the air. Wang Lin stood still, staring blankly at Li Muwan. A light flickered at his brow as the heavenly reversal pearl slowly emerged. He placed Li Muwan's nascent soul inside, but to his horror, even with that tiny sliver of life, her soul continued to fade. Though the dissipation was slow, it never stopped. A bitter expression crossed Wang Lin's face. After a moment of silence, he made a decisive move. Tapping his storage pouch, he summoned the heaven-avoiding coffin, which appeared before him, shimmering like crystal and glowing with radiant light. Taking Li Muwan's nascent soul from the heavenly reversal pearl, Wang Lin's hand trembled. Though he had already made up his mind, he hesitated once more. Should he place her in the coffin or not? Watching her nascent soul dissipate faster and faster, Wang Lin gently lowered it into the coffin. As soon as it touched the interior, her meditative posture changed, and she slowly lay down. Wang Lin could not take his eyes off her, utterly forgetting everything around him. His entire world was reduced to Li Muwan in that moment. As she lay down, a strange power surged from within the heaven-avoiding coffin, enveloping it entirely. The moment that power touched her nascent soul, it began to collapse. But then, the faint thread of life force inside her began to circulate. The collapse subsided, and a 5-colored light bloomed within the coffin. In that instant, Wang Lin's heart was shaken to its core. He took a deep breath, and with his wisdom, he instantly understood. Had there been no sliver of life remaining in Li Muwan, placing her in the heaven-avoiding coffin would have certainly led to her complete destruction. This coffin seems to respond only to those with even a trace of life force, Wang Lin murmured, eyes fixed on the flickering multicolored light within the coffin. As he watched, red threads emerged from the nascent soul of Li Muwan, weaving outward and outlining a faint silhouette around her. Then, within the dazzling radiance, countless crystalline lights gathered, following the contours of those red threads to form the skeletal frame of a woman. Before his eyes, Li Muwan's physical body swiftly took shape in just a few breaths. She now lay quietly in the coffin, as if in a deep slumber, her breathing faint, but undeniably present. Tears welled up in Wang Lin's eyes. Xun'er. For that single moment, Wang Lin felt everything had been worth it. 3 days later, Wang Lin carried Li Muwan and departed the abandoned cultivation star, heading straight for the Thunder Immortal Palace. Xun'er, we're going home. His sorrowful voice echoed through the starry void, heavy with grief, impossible to dispel. Within the Alliance star domain, a bloody storm broke out over the course of just half a month. It began in the western region, where an army of Luotian cultivators charged in, sweeping through everything in their path. One cultivation star after another fell under their control, forcing the cultivators within to flee. It was as if the end of days had come. Strangely, the Cultivation Alliance took no action. No panic, no response, as if they were simply watching from afar. This baffled the Luotian side. They couldn't grasp the Alliance's intentions, and even figures like Yin Lazy were filled with doubt. If such an invasion had occurred in the Luotian star domain, the Thunder Immortal Palace would have immediately launched a counterattack. There would have been no chance for the enemy to strike deep and gain a foothold. Not only was the Cultivation Alliance silent, even the high-tier cultivation stars, those ranked 7th or above, remained absent. The Luotian forces found themselves occupying only 6th-tier stars, while the higher-level ones seemed to have vanished without a trace. This strange situation deepened Luotian's confusion. On the surface, it seemed they had the upper hand, but the uncertainty surrounding the enemy's motives began to stir unease among many of Luotian's veteran cultivators. And that wasn't the worst of it. Throughout this half-month war, the combat prowess of the Alliance's 6th-tier cultivation nations shocked the Luotian cultivators. Their bloodthirsty eyes, cunning tactics, and difficult-to-counter magical artifacts inflicted heavy losses. It became clear, if cultivators of equal power fought, Luotian would lose. What stunned them even more was that every Alliance cultivator fought with ruthless efficiency and seasoned skill. To the Luotian army, it felt as if every single one of them had come from Donglen Star. At that moment, in the western part of the Alliance star domain, a primitive planet suddenly erupted with a terrifying aura. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the landscape, shaking the entire world. Luckily, the planet was uninhabited. Any life would have been annihilated in the chaos. The ground quaked, seas rolled backward, and the world itself teetered on the brink of destruction. A wild, exuberant laugh echoed from within. I'm out at last. Damn it. Those vixens from Phoenix Lawn Star, you'd better wait for me. You forced me to hide, to retreat, to hole up in this godforsaken place for so long. This time, we're not done. The arrogant voice roared across the sky, growing louder with each word. In the next instant, a figure burst out from the planet. His clothes were torn, his skin darkened with grime, utterly disheveled, but his eyes shone like lightning, piercing and radiant with power. With a thunderous boom, he launched into the sky. The planet beneath him cracked and crumbled, unable to withstand the force. I'm suffocating. I don't even remember how long this closed-door cultivation lasted. My poor consorts, after all these years, they're probably long gone. Phoenix Lawn Star, you've truly pissed me off this time. I've broken through to the early pure Nirvana stage. I'm coming to claim my throne. The furious figure screamed into the heavens, as if trying to purge years of pent-up rage in a single breath. Back under the familiar yet foreign stars, Wang Lin stood calm. He had left this place long ago. When he left, he had just ascended to supremacy. Now that he returned, he had already reached the glimpse of Nirvana. Tian Yunzi, Ling Tian Ho. I, Wang Lin, have returned. A sharp gleam flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. Inside his storage pouch, he still kept the key to the underground cave of the Spirit Beast grounds, an item he had preserved in perfect condition all this time. Back then, Wang Lin's cultivation was insignificant in the Alliance star domain. The highest level of contact he had reached was merely the 7th-level cultivation nation. But now, as a glimpse of Nirvana cultivator, he was someone even the ancient monsters of the Luotian star domain would take seriously. With his return to the Alliance, he could stir up a storm at any moment, if he so desired. However, Wang Lin knew well that the Alliance was not the same as Luotian. The waters of the Alliance star domain ran far deeper. This war between Luotian and the Alliance must be approached with caution. I cannot dive in recklessly, Wang Lin muttered, eyes flickering, having already decided to observe first before making any moves. Once back in the Alliance star domain, Wang Lin's old caution surged severfold. He understood clearly, cultivators here, especially those above the apex level, were cunning and treacherous to the extreme. Even those on par with his own cultivation were nothing short of devious. One careless step, and he might be devoured, flesh and bones, without even realizing it. This was not the family-based cultivation model of the Luotian star domain. This was ruthless cultivation, where only the strong survived, and nature weeded out the weak. Still, with my current cultivation, and now reunited with my true self, I no longer need to tread so timidly in the Alliance star domain, Wang Lin thought, his eyes flashing coldly. Upon returning, he had instantly reconnected with his true form, confirming each other's exact positions. With a stride, his divine sense expanded outward, sweeping across the surroundings. Before long, something caught his attention. He had been seeking an uninhabited savage star during his journey, and now he found one. Ripples spread beneath his feet as he merged with the heavens and earth, vanishing without a trace. When he reappeared, it was on a remote savage star, utterly devoid of human presence. Though the spiritual energy here was sparse, the land teemed with vitality, a world of thriving flora. Looking around, the entire planet was engulfed in dense jungle. He had known, long ago, that saving Li Muwan would require the consumption of life force. He hadn't hesitated, trading his own vitality for the seventh night art. After all, after hundreds of years of waiting, this could very well be his only chance. He couldn't afford to miss it. The technique was both a success and a failure. The success, although Li Muwan had not been resurrected, she now had a physical body. There was hope. Wang Lin had burned through nearly all of his life force, but he had other plans. Even Qin Shui hadn't realized Wang Lin's contingency. He had given him a rune mark that concealed his dwindling vitality. Now, though his face showed no signs of aging aside from the white hair, if that rune mark were broken, Wang Lin would appear as weathered as a millennium-old man. The call of the cycle of reincarnation felt stronger than ever. Yet Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. With a flicker, he descended onto the vibrant land. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he inhaled deeply and sat cross-legged. Behind him, Pagoda Mountain emerged in a single step and sat several meters away, eyes glinting with cold light as he scanned the surroundings. Should any danger arise, he would strike without hesitation. Exhaling slowly, Wang Lin raised his right hand. With a forming seal, a black light began to condense at the tip of his index finger. At first faint, it quickly grew to emit a chilling, soul-stirring aura. Annihilation finger, Wang Lin murmured, eyes fixed on the dark glow. After seeing the third step long ago, he had deduced that using this technique repeatedly would hinder a return to his origin, so he had abandoned it. But when he heard from Xiang Yundong that saving Li Muwan would demand a massive expenditure of life force, the annihilation finger had instantly resurfaced in his mind. This divine ability devoured all surrounding life force and converted it into a devastating attack. One strike, life itself crumbled. Gleaming with resolve, Wang Lin slowly pointed his index finger downward, pressing it onto the ground before him. In that instant, black light rippled outward from him in a ring, expanding with explosive speed. Within moments, it engulfed the land in a radius of 1,000 miles. Towering trees began to wither, leaves shriveled and fell. In mere seconds, they cracked and disintegrated with a muffled bang, turning into dust, vanishing. Even the falling leaves dissolved mid-air. Only vast plumes of white mist drifted out from the collapsing trees, gathering swiftly toward Wang Lin. Not just the trees, even the grass and plants across the land withered the moment the black light passed over them. Their life force was completely extracted, turning into white mist that surged toward Wang Lin. In the blink of an eye, all life within 1,000 miles was extinguished. Every trace of vitality surged toward him. From high above, one could immediately see the strange scene below, a withered land stretching for thousands of miles. Wisps of white mist, as if sentient, surged directly toward Wang Lin, swirling constantly around him. His figure had become obscured by the dense white mist. Within the mist surged boundless vitality, thick and overflowing. As it circled around him, flashes of thunder flickered within Wang Lin's eyes. He took a deep breath. With that breath, the vitality-laden mist around him seemed to find an outlet. In an instant, it formed a massive vortex, the center of which was none other than Wang Lin's 7 orifices. Endless white mist poured in wildly, streaming into his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. It condensed inside him, transforming into life force that rapidly replenished what he had lost, while also nourishing his entire body. As he absorbed it, a blood-red rune mark on Wang Lin's chest began to glow. Eventually, it emerged 3 inches from his body. Yet faint, wandering light still shimmered on its surface, spreading over Wang Lin's form to mask and protect him. Half an hour passed. The last thread of white mist was drawn into his mouth, vanishing completely. Within a 1,000-mile radius, the land had turned dry and yellow. Even the ground cracked, all life force utterly drained. Strangely, just beyond that 1,000-mile range, everything remained untouched, lush and vibrant. The contrast was stark, as if 2 separate worlds had formed side by side. That divine ability cultivated by the Xiang family ancestor must be similar to this annihilation finger. Both absorb life force and infuse it into the self. That man was far too arrogant. He never imagined I would see through it. A cold smirk curled Wang Lin's lips. Half my life force. Does he really think it's so easy to take? One day, I'll reclaim it all with interest. If he can devour life force, so can I. A chilling gleam flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He shut them tight, and immediately, a black light surged out across the land, boiling and expanding wildly. 2,000 miles. 3,000. In an instant, it engulfed 5,000 miles. All vegetation withered. Towering trees crumbled. Within that vast region, even monstrous beasts could not escape the calamity. A massive python, over 10 zhang long, slithered through the woods but was instantly caught by the black light. Its body shuddered, and as the wave passed over, it dissolved into white mist, its life force dissipating and converging toward Wang Lin. The black light did not stop, it continued spreading. 6,000 miles. 8,000. 10,000. Within 10,000 miles, all life crumbled. Boundless life force gathered like a raging storm, with Wang Lin at its center. The torrent of vitality surged into his 7 orifices, fusing with his body. Gradually, the red rune mark on his chest rose higher and higher until it protruded 10 full inches. Wang Lin's eyes snapped open. With a sharp motion of his left hand, he grabbed the rune mark and yanked it out. The moment it was removed, Wang Lin's entire body erupted with light. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into a weathered old man, death energy pouring from him. But this transformation instantly reversed. The immense life force around him flooded in through his orifices. Before the eye, his shriveled body regained luster, changing rapidly. Meanwhile, in the western region of the Alliance star domain, countless miles from Wang Lin's location on the Savage Star, there was a cultivation star. Nestled deep in the Alliance's western sector and near its southern border, this star appeared half-abandoned from afar, with only faint spiritual energy. Outside this cultivation star, several sword lights hovered. On each blade stood a cultivator. Their expressions were grim, eyes cold and alert as they scanned their surroundings with divine sense. A heavy, oppressive aura lingered in the air. Though their cultivation was only at the infant metamorphosis stage, the killing intent radiating from them was strong. They encircled the planet vigilantly, but a flicker of unease could be seen in their eyes. Soon, a sword light shot up from the half-abandoned cultivation star. Standing atop it was an elderly woman. Though her face bore wrinkles, her former beauty was still discernible. Had Wang Lin been present, he would have recognized her. Worry marked the old woman's face. As she emerged, one of the surrounding cultivators flew over and greeted her respectfully. "Greetings, Elder Snow White." She gave a slight nod, then gazed out into the distant starry sky. Her voice was slow and measured. "Be on high alert. If anything unusual happens, report it immediately. With war raging, our Vermilion bird star lies too close to the Luotian cultivators. We're at a moment of life and death." The cultivator trembled and bowed low. "Yes, Elder." The old woman sighed. Just as she was about to speak again, her expression changed dramatically. Her eyes flashed with a sharp gleam, fixed intently on a point in the distance. Her sudden shift immediately drew the attention of the others. As they followed her gaze, all of their faces turned pale. But in the same instant, a towering, killing aura began to condense. In the distant starry sky, sword lights howled, and a group of several hundred cultivators flew toward the Vermilion bird star. Leading them was a big-head boy, who walked through the void with his hands clasped behind his back, a foolish grin on his face. With his cultivation, he didn't even regard a 6th-level cultivation star, let alone the fact that hundreds of Luotian cultivators were following him. The only reason they were here was because it was on their way. His real task was to be the first wave of cultivators from the Luotian star domain, entering the Alliance's southern domain to investigate the situation. As they drew nearer, the elderly woman outside the Vermilion bird star darkened in expression. Without a word, she immediately retreated, and the surrounding cultivators also hurriedly followed her, rushing back to the Vermilion bird star as the sword lights continued to roar. Seeing this, the big-head boy let out a loud laugh, his foolish expression deepening. Not only him, but even the Luotian cultivators behind him all burst into laughter. To them, this level of cultivation star was far too weak, far too weak. Any deficiency cultivator stepping onto this star could easily annihilate it. Immortal Envoy, allow my brother and I to go. A middle-aged cultivator stepped forward from behind the big-head boy. His cultivation wasn't an deficiency, but had reached the peak of great perfection. As he spoke, he looked at the big-head boy with deep respect. Beside him stood another man, and the two looked quite alike. The big-head boy glanced at the Vermilion bird star with contempt in his eyes. With his cultivation, destroying this star was far too simple. At the moment, he spoke, I'll give you 1 incense stick's time. Kill every cultivator here. The two brothers laughed heartily, and one of them said, Immortal Envoy, don't worry. For this kind of cultivation star, it won't even take an incense stick. Half an hour is more than enough. As he spoke, he grinned cruelly, and with a single step, turned into a shooting star, charging toward the Vermilion bird star with a thunderous boom. Behind him, his brother followed, his eyes filled with murderous intent. The two moved with incredible speed, and in the blink of an eye, they broke through the Vermilion bird star's astral wind layer and descended directly to the star's surface. Atop Vermilion bird mountain, Zhou Wutai stood with his eyes like lightning. A powerful aura surged through him, and a long, slender sword hovered in front of him. He stood at the peak, his expression resolute. Behind him stood cultivators, silently waiting. Among them, only a few had been seen by Wang Lin years ago. After hundreds of years, these cultivators had gained much strength. The elderly woman, Bai Shui, now appeared as a streak of sword light, descending from midair. As an elder of the human immortal path, the Vermilion bird star was her home, and she would guard it no matter what. Notably, there was an old man among them, exuding an aura of immortality. Dressed in yellow robes and carrying a long sword, he stood near the back, clearly someone with less seniority. If Wang Lin were here, he would be greatly shocked. This man was none other than Huang Long, the former sect master of the Xun'er sect. At present, he wore a grave expression, showing no falsehood, but there was a flicker of amusement in his eyes, though no one noticed. Since Taoist Wang Lin handed over the Vermilion bird patriarch's position to me, I swore to live or die with the Vermilion bird star. Today, with a great enemy before us, I will not step back, even if I must turn to dust. Behind Zhou Wutai were two other cultivators at the peak of their cultivation. They were both old men, and if Wang Lin were here, he would certainly recognize them. The two of them sighed deeply, exchanging a glance that revealed firm resolve. There was no escape now. This was no simple battle, but a war between two star domains. They had learned of this through information released by the Cultivation Alliance. Thankfully, they had a plan in place. Otherwise, they would have no chance of survival. On the other half of Vermilion bird star, Yun Kazi, who had been in closed-door cultivation for several hundred years, opened his eyes. His appearance had grown even older, and symbols flickered on his forehead. Standing up, he took a step forward, appearing in midair, gazing into the distance. Behind him, the members of the Immortal Remnant clan gathered, their expressions heavy with concern. At the same time, some cultivators who kept to themselves on the Vermilion bird star also emerged, staring at the sky. A suffocating pressure spread through the air. Under this pressure, it was as though mountains were falling from the sky. Anyone who tried to resist would be crushed into dust. Within the Cloud Heaven sect, Tai Yin, now elderly, stood in the square, his eyes dim and surrounded by death energy. His lifespan had come to an end, but at this moment, he struggled to stand, staring at the sky, silent. At that moment, every cultivator across the Vermilion bird star lifted their heads to the sky. From the sects of the 5th-tier cultivation nations to the schools of the 4th tier, and even the numerous cultivators of the third-tier nations, each one wore a grave expression. A looming crisis of life and death, a calamity capable of annihilating the Vermilion bird star itself, was descending as two streaks of light shot across the heavens like meteors. Those two meteors were, in fact, the arrival of two brothers from Luotian. The instant they descended, wild laughter erupted. It was arrogant and unrestrained, but they had every right to be. With cultivation at the peak of ascension, they were without question among the strongest on the Vermilion bird star. And together, the power they wielded was formidable beyond imagination. Such a forsaken cultivation star, and yet it holds so many cultivators? Were this in the Luotian star domain, no one would bother claiming such a place. The Alliance star domain is laughable at best. One of the brothers mocked as his cultivation aura exploded outward. His divine sense surged like a storm, sweeping across the Vermilion bird star. At that very instant, the powerful figures of the Vermilion bird star, Zhou Wutai, Yun Keizi, and other peak cultivators, shot into the air, preparing for battle. But just then, the Luotian cultivator's divine sense reached the cloud heaven sect. The moment it brushed past, he staggered as if struck by lightning. It was as though tens of thousands of thunderclaps exploded by his ears simultaneously, roaring into a deafening rumble. His eyes bulged in shock, his body quaked, and a wave of fear swept over him uncontrollably. This is... At the entrance of the cloud heaven sect stood a colossal statue, etched in its surface, the unmistakable likeness of Wang Lin. The depiction was startlingly lifelike, capturing even the icy chill in his gaze, which pierced straight to the bone. The other Luotian cultivator, seeing the stunned expression on his elder brother's face, released his own divine sense in confusion. The moment it locked onto the statue at the cloud heaven sect, his body began to tremble violently. The horror in his eyes was 100-fold deeper than his brother's. Demon Path Scion Sumu. In an instant, both brothers felt their scalps go numb, their hearts pounding in terror. As their eyes met, they saw nothing but sheer panic reflected back. The name Demon Path Scion Sumu echoed like thunder across the Luotian star domain. Especially after the Sealing Immortal campaign, he had earned the title of True Thunder Immortal and commanded over 3,000 cultivators. That kind of might and prestige was not something ordinary cultivators could hope to possess. Even for these two brothers, or their clan's ancestor, encountering Sumu meant showing the utmost reverence. Even Big Head Boy, the immortal envoy leading this expedition, would likely be shaken to his core at the mere mention of that name. The brothers were filled with dread. All arrogance and killing intent vanished in an instant, replaced by unrelenting fear. Without hesitation, they turned and fled. They knew all too well what the name Demon Path Scion Sumu meant in the Luotian star domain: bloodshed, merciless, unstoppable slaughter. To challenge him was to court certain death. Sumu was the junior brother of immortal monarch Qishui, a true thunder immortal, the unrivaled prodigy of the younger generation in Luotian, revered by countless cultivation families, and even survived a manhunt by the Yao family, only to severely wound them in return. Any one of these feats could mean instant death for the two brothers. Now, they didn't even dare ask questions. Overwhelmed with dread, the only thought in their minds was to flee. They were confident in their eyes. There was no mistake. That statue was indeed Sumu. Even if they were given unmatched courage, they would not dare provoke Sumu. As for why his statue was here, worshipped, no less, they didn't want to know. They didn't dare to know. Regret overwhelmed them like a tidal wave. Had they known earlier, they would never have revealed themselves. They had certainly just made a deadly mistake. Their sudden and panicked departure left the cultivators of the Vermilion bird star in stunned disbelief. Zhou Wutai and the others had been prepared for a deadly battle. This shocking reversal left him momentarily speechless. It wasn't just him. Even the Immortal Remnant clan was baffled. Only Yun Keizi narrowed his eyes and looked toward the Cloud Heaven sect. Of all the cultivators on the Vermilion bird star, he was among the oldest and most seasoned. His cultivation had deepened significantly during years of secluded training. He had seen it clearly. Those two top-tier Luotian cultivators were only shaken after their divine senses swept past the Cloud Heaven sect. What could possibly be within the Cloud Heaven sect that would send two peak ascension cultivators fleeing in terror? Yun Keizi had witnessed the entire scene. The image of those mighty cultivators fleeing in panic burned itself into his mind. Sweeping his divine sense through the Cloud Heaven sect, his focus locked onto the immense statue of Wang Lin. Could it be? Yun Keizi's eyes flew open wide, though a sliver of disbelief lingered in his heart. Similarly, Zhou Wutai and several other old monsters had the same thought. These individuals were all keen-minded, and after a brief contemplation, they immediately realized where the problem lay. Their divine senses quickly spread, all locking onto the Cloud Heaven sect. Tai Yin gazed at Wang Lin's statue, a glimmer of excitement appearing in his eyes. He muttered to himself, "It must be because of my benefactor." Meanwhile, the two brothers from Luo Tian, filled with panic, immediately flew out from Vermilion Bird Star. From a distance, they saw Big Head Boy and the many cultivators behind him. Big Head Boy, who had been closing his eyes, opened them at this moment, furrowing his brow. He calmly said, "What's the problem?" Volume 8, The Alliance's Secrets. His body was rapidly changing. As he continued to absorb the overwhelming life force, his appearance gradually returned to normal, and the life energy within him quickly replenished. Wang Lin opened his eyes, his gaze flashing with thunderous intent. He took a deep breath and muttered to himself, relying on the annihilation finger to restore life force has its drawbacks. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin stood up. With a single step, he directly left the savage star. The entire pagoda mountain seemed to shimmer and merge with Wang Lin's figure, vanishing without a trace. Vermilion Bird Star. Wang Lin's feet stirred, and he merged with the heavens and earth in the starry sky. Outside Vermilion Bird Star, Big Head Boy's question reached the ears of the two Luo Tian cultivators. Immortal Envoy, we saw a statue within this cultivation star. One of the Luo Tian cultivators immediately suppressed the panic in his heart and spoke. I sent you to slaughter stars, not to look at some statue. Big Head Boy interrupted him directly, his eyes flashing coldly. Despite the foolish smile on his face, it exuded a murderous intent. The cultivator was about to speak, but his clan brother pulled him back. Looking at Big Head Boy, he respectfully said, Immortal Envoy, you will understand why we returned once you see it yourself. After speaking, he no longer glanced at Big Head Boy, grabbing his younger brother and returning to the group of cultivators. Big Head Boy cast a dark glance at the two of them. Stepping forward, he headed straight for Vermilion Bird Star. Normally, he wouldn't even bother entering such a cultivation star, and whenever he encountered such half-abandoned stars, he would order his subordinates to massacre everything before leaving immediately. In his eyes, only a 7th-level cultivation star was worthy of his divine abilities. Unfortunately, so far, I haven't encountered any 7th-level cultivation stars. I'll see what kind of person can make 2 peak-level cultivators retreat in this desolate place. Big Head Boy snorted coldly. His body was not even close yet, but his divine sense had already expanded. Having reached the early glimpse of Nirvana stage, he entered the immortal ascension pool, shedding his conceptual realm and gaining immortal essence. He had secretly used several immortal arts, and the power they unleashed thrilled him. At this moment, his divine sense expanded, becoming a powerful storm that swept across the entire Vermilion Bird Star in an instant. His divine sense was so strong that its arrival caused an unprecedented explosion on Vermilion Bird Star. Several mountain peaks crumbled instantly, and rivers seemed to boil, sending massive waves crashing. All the cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star, in that moment, felt as if an immense weight was pressing down on them. As his divine sense spread, it transformed into a thunderous rumble, echoing madly and forming a sonic boom. Under its influence, Vermilion Bird Star seemed to plunge into the apocalypse. The violent divine sense transformed into vast black clouds, enveloping the heavens and pressing down fiercely. Several peak-level cultivators immediately trembled violently, their primordial spirits nearly collapsing. As for those in the infant metamorphosis stage, they spat blood and immediately withered. The golden core cultivators trembled, their golden cores cracking, their faces pale with terror and despair. Those in the foundation establishment and chi refining stages exploded in blood mist, collapsing to the ground, barely breathing. If the cultivators were like this, one could imagine the fate of the mortals. All the mortals on Vermilion Bird Star fell unconscious in an instant, with nothing but the thunderous sound echoing in their minds. Vermilion Bird Star fell silent in that moment. This was still due to Big Head Boy's reluctance to slaughter mortals. Otherwise, with a sweep of his divine sense, all life would have been extinguished. Under this divine sense, only a few were struggling desperately. Zhou Wutai, with his azure dragon bloodline and the crystal of ascension passed down to him, roared angrily. At that moment, pieces of azure light flickered across his body, transforming into azure scales. A powerful aura erupted from within him, and a 100-foot-long azure dragon appeared above him, roaring toward the sky. Yun Kezi was enveloped in golden runes all over his body. His face was pale, veins bulging, and at this moment, he felt as if he was facing the heavens themselves. It was as if there was an intent in the divine sense that sought to force him into submission. This feeling he had never experienced before, as though the intent came from a deep imprint in his soul. Roar. Though Xun'er was already aged, he suddenly let out a furious roar. In that moment, a towering phantom tree manifested in midair. A powerful aura surged wildly within him, rising rapidly. Under the immense pressure, he had broken through. A cold snort echoed from the sky, and as the sound rang out, a deafening sonic boom erupted. The earth trembled violently, as if the very heavens were reversing. Xun'er's body shuddered as he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. All the ancient runes surrounding his body shattered instantly. He gave a bitter smile. It wasn't the power of his opponent that destroyed the runes, but it was so overwhelming that it crushed his own. Big Head Boy descended slowly from the sky, hands clasped behind his back, his expression calm. A gentle breeze swept past, yet it abruptly reversed 100 feet from him, as if too afraid to draw near. The cultivation strength that the cultivators of Vermilion Birdstar had regarded as unimaginably powerful slowly dispersed as Big Head Boy appeared. Everyone on this abandoned star, you're all trash. Under the heavenly Tao, what use are you? Fortunately, you've met me. I'll give you all release. Big Head Boy lifted his right hand casually and pointed into the distance. At that instant, a thick immortal chi burst forth, transforming into a beam of golden light. Surrounding it, immortal chi surged violently. It carried a terrifying immortal art. The azure dragon that Zhou Wutai had summoned was instantly pierced by that single finger of immortal art. A mournful roar echoed through the air. The guardian of Vermilion Birdstar, the azure dragon, collapsed with reluctance and fury. Zhou Wutai's body trembled violently as he spat blood, but his eyes still blazed with fighting spirit. Just then, Big Head Boy's body paused. Earlier, he had extended his divine sense to search for statues. Now, within a Sex Mountain gate, he spotted an enormous statue. The moment he laid eyes on it, even with his level of composure, Big Head Boy gasped involuntarily, horror flashing in his eyes. This. He stumbled back several steps instinctively, his heart pounding and his expression changing rapidly. Never in his wildest thoughts did he expect to see Su Mu's statue here. Su Mu had left him with nothing short of a nightmare. Back in that narrow canyon, he had been utterly helpless, killed in an instant by that terrifying thunder divine ability, an experience that still made his scalp tingle and soul tremble. Even after entering the ascension pool, he had never dared provoke Su Mu again. Every time he recalled that incomprehensibly powerful divine ability, fear gripped his heart. Now, gasping for breath, he vanished from where he stood, reappearing outside Cloud Heaven's sect. His gaze locked directly onto the statue of Wang Lin. The more he looked, the more horrified he became. His very soul began to quiver. Demon Path Scion, Su Mu. Big Head Boy's face turned pale as he stared at the statue. He was now absolutely certain this statue was Su Mu. After all, he had once died by Su Mu's hand. That face was etched into his very soul. Staring blankly at the statue, Big Head Boy finally understood why those two Luotian cultivators had fled in such panic. Su Mu's reputation was too overwhelming. Even Big Head Boy couldn't help but feel the urge to retreat. In the plaza beside the statue, Tai Yin sat cross-legged, coldly sneering at Big Head Boy. Though grievously injured, Xun'er's eyes now glimmered. He had seen everything through his divine sense, how that powerful cultivator froze in front of the statue of the little boy from years ago, Wang Lin. Xun'er's heart trembled in disbelief. Could it be? Those Luotian cultivators know that little boy Wang Lin? But even if they do, why such expressions? Unless, a guess rose in Xun'er's heart, one that even he found absurd. Zhou Wutai felt the same. Though badly wounded, he was willing to sacrifice everything to defend Vermilion Bird. He had once sworn before Wang Lin, and no matter what, he intended to keep that oath. If Vermilion Bird still stood, he would stand. If Vermilion Bird fell, he would die. As for Big Head Boy, staring at Wang Lin's statue, his heart shook violently. He was truly terrified of Wang Lin. Now, standing there and meeting the statue's gaze, his hair stood on end, as if he were truly facing Wang Lin in person. Instinctively, he stepped back several feet, his expression darkening. It's not worth it to provoke Su Mu over an abandoned cultivation star. But this statue of Su Mu, it's been here for hundreds of years, clearly. Su Mu, he's not from the Luotian star domain. He's from the Alliance star domain. That's it, he must be. Big Head Boy's heart pounded wildly. He felt he had stumbled upon an earth-shattering secret. He raised his right hand, ready to strike down, but at that very instant, a bone-chilling cold, like the ice of deepest winter, suddenly burst forth and echoed across the entire Vermilion bird star. Say that again. I dare you. The voice, icy enough to freeze the heavens and earth, thundered through the void. Sumu. Big Head Boy recoiled as if struck by a heavy blow. His face turned deathly pale in an instant. Without the slightest hesitation, he retreated, all color draining from his face. His soul nearly scattered, his spirit trembling violently. We cannot fight. Retreat at once. As he fell back, he coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood, and without a second thought, activated blood escape at the cost of his own cultivation. Ever since the narrow pass encounter, Sumu had instilled in him a deep, visceral fear. Benefactor. Tears welled up in Tai Yan's eyes. Centuries of emotion surged within him as he stared at the figure stepping out beside the statue, ripples swirling at his feet. In 2 lines of aged tears flowed down his face. Wang Lin. Yun Kazi gasped, breath caught in his throat. Wang Lin. Joy and shock exploded in Zhou Wutai's eyes. Wang Lin. In that moment, every awakened cultivator, everyone who witnessed the scene, was utterly shaken. Wang Lin, on Vermilion bird star, the true ancestor. You won't escape. Wang Lin's eyes burned with boundless killing intent as he stepped forward.